Hi, welcome everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to this webinar. This webinar is entitled The Atlassian Approach to Incident Management. I'm Darren Henry. I head one of the product marketing teams here at Atlassian. And the intent of this webinar is to walk you through the various products that Atlassian offers that help companies attack incidents, especially major incidents, from a position of strength. A couple housekeeping things to get started. You can interact with us. You can submit questions using the Q&A widget, and we'll respond to those the best we can. And also, we've listed a number of resources that I'll touch on during this webinar, so you can check out those resources as well from the links that we're providing. We will record this webinar, so we are planning to send this to everyone who has registered. And if there's any delay in how the slides advance, it could be your network speed. So if your slides are behind, you can push F5 and refresh your page so that you're brought up to speed very quickly. All right, let's get started. The first thing I'd like to do is, my intent is to walk you through some real-world incidents and talk about how the Atlassian products help in each situation. But first, I think it's important to lay a foundation of definitions. And the first one I'd like to talk about is what we consider an incident. We believe an incident is an event that causes either a disruption or a reduction in the quality of a service, an IT or dev service, and it requires an emergency response. I think that's important to understand. An incident requires an emergency response, usually by teams or maybe even multiple teams. It's a little different than an alert, and this is also very important. An alert is information about an event which warrants attention. So an alert is what initially gives you the attention. It alerts you to a situation, and then that alert could be promoted to an incident that requires an emergency response. Some important aspects is that not all alerts require action. And not all alerts indicate incidents, but most incidents do start with some type of an alert, some type of notification that warrants attention. Okay, so with that sort of foundation laid, let's talk a little bit about incidents. They're definitely going to happen. It doesn't matter how large you are or how thorough you are in your quality checking. Incidents do happen. And if you look, this is just the last 6 months. Huge incidents have occurred, not only for Twitter, but Netflix. Wells Fargo, a big financial institute in America, had an issue earlier this spring. And what was interesting about Wells Fargo event, it wasn't only the incident that caused headache to the company. They actually took a lot of criticism for how they responded to the incident and how they communicated to their customers. So it was about the communication of the incident that was important for the Wells Fargo event. Google obviously had a huge event in June. YouTube and Gmail and Snapchat were down. There was a lot of discussion about how it impacted. It had a cascading effect on services. And then Facebook and Verizon saw major outages in June as well. Interestingly enough, just recently, Yahoo had a major email outage that hit most of London. So it doesn't matter how large you are, how thorough your team is, chances are incidents will happen. In fact, ITIC did a study in which if you aggregate all downtime across the world, they estimate that the cost of downtime is something like $4 billion a day. Gartner has increased that threefold in a study that they did where they talked to larger enterprise. So no matter how you slice it, incidents really account for $1 trillion or more than $1 trillion of loss per year. I think it's upwards of $3 to $6 trillion. So they're going to happen. They're extremely expensive. What can you do about it? Well, Atlassian is investing heavily in incident management. We've recently acquired a number of companies. Opsgenie is one of them. If you're not familiar with Opsgenie, it allows you to plan ahead for service disruptions. You plan ahead with on-call schedules that will notify the right team if there's an outage, but you also can centralize all your alerts from your various monitoring tools and sources as well. Statuspage is sort of the standard, the gold standard out there for communicating proactively to your customers when an incident occurs. It helps you build trust during an incident and protect your reputation. It also is very important in deflecting those redundant service requests, which take a lot of time. It allows your team to focus on the work. And speaking of work, there's two softwares that are the gold standard for tracking work and managing requests, Jira Software and Jira Service Desk. Both very important for incident management. In fact, Jira Service Desk can act as an input, alerting you to issues, and we'll talk about that in a second. When we talk about incident management, you combine all four of these products, and what we believe is, as I said, it gives you the ability to change your posture of how you respond to incidents. We believe that all four of these products together will help you respond to, resolve, and learn from every incident. And that learning is important because it will help you continuously improve, avoid similar incidents, and respond faster if they occur again. There's two lenses to look at incident management through. One is from an IT team, and the other one is from dev teams. Many companies have incidents that occur that IT teams address and DevOps teams address. But we find that, depending on what team you are, you may have different goals, and you may have different experiences. Let me explain. For IT teams, we're seeing now that IT teams are responsible for numerous services. It could be hundreds of services in many cases for larger organizations, and these span on-prem, cloud, third-party, and homegrown solutions. These aren't often services that the IT team develops, but they're services that the IT team is responsible for. What's important here is that the teams have become more nuanced, more specialized. So in many cases, when there are major incidents, several teams need to come together to respond. The other thing that's very important is that in many cases, IT teams rely on customers to report issues. They have two major inputs, the customer reported issues as well as sort of the network resource monitoring tools that they may put in place. We mentioned that communication to customers and stakeholders is important as much. In fact, it's as important as quickly addressing the issue is proactive communication. And in fact, mean time to resolve, MTTR, is one of the most important metrics. For DevOps, it's slightly different. While IT teams are focused on numerous service, a dev team is more focused on just the service they developed. The DevOps philosophy is if you build the code, you own it. And in many cases, incidents in the dev space are due to two major issues. One is code deployments, where new code has broken the service or has caused a degradation in the service. The other one is due to third-party components that you may depend on. So 90% of the incidents that occur on the dev teams are either a service that you rely on or a code change that you've deployed. So because of this, monitoring tools are very important to the dev team. And in fact, they can't wait for customers to report. If they wait for a customer to file a ticket, it's too late. So monitoring tools are extremely important. And again, communication is important. Many of these DevOps projects are SaaS-based applications. They need to communicate very quickly to the customer base and stakeholders. And follow-up actions are often hot fixes. And as you can imagine, in the dev environments, a lot of times that's where Jira comes into play. So slightly different sort of tool sets, slightly different situations between an IT operations team as well as a dev team. We're going to walk you through two real-world examples, one for IT and one for dev. So let's go ahead and do that. Incident management for IT operations. So if you can imagine, in this situation, we're going to talk about a company who is looking to increase their efficiency in dealing with situations where services are disrupted or performance is degraded. So for this company, and in many cases we use a fictional company called Bankley, has implemented a number of Atlassian tools. Let's see how they would use them all together. The first thing is they implemented JSD. So the IT team put out JSD, and we have JSD Help Center. If you're not familiar with this technology, it's really great in that it creates a portal for customers, whether internal or external, to actually come report a problem. They can look at resources for standard or common problems, or they can actually open tickets, request help for specific issues they're running into. And what's really neat is, in this example, Thursday night, 2 tickets are actually reported, or 2 issues are reported. And you can see one of the nicest things about JSD is it allows you to capture information in a very complete and consistent manner. So we have one form that's filled out for IT support from Kelly Harrison. She's a contractor that cannot access a CRM, and she put this as high and high urgency. And then Mitch Davis also filled out the form, and he's saying that the web store is down. He can't connect to a web store. He also put this as high and seems to think this is widespread. So JSD is capturing this information. Both are high priority. The important thing to note is that this comes in the evening, Thursday evening. Now, one thing that happens once you fill out those forms, the issues are immediately ticketed in Jira Service Desk. It's added to the queue. You can actually see the time to resolution, or the amount of time that's been accumulating since they've been reported. So you can see those 2 issues at the bottom. JSD is really great at organizing these requests and building this queue. But unfortunately, it is Thursday night, so the question is, who's actually looking at this queue? And that's where a second product that we have, Opsgenie, comes in. So if you're not familiar with Opsgenie, Opsgenie allows you to build an on-call schedule, especially important for after hours. It allows you to build an escalation policy. This is like a hierarchy. So if the initial alert or notification is not acknowledged, do you want it escalated to the next person on the list? Maybe it's the next person on call, maybe it's a manager or a person on team. And then it also allows you to define routing rules. So it aggregates alerts. In this case, we're going to aggregate alerts from Jira Service Desk, and it allows you to do things like look at the content and set priority, decide which team it goes to, decide which routing rule and which escalation policy or which schedule to utilize to make sure that this goes to the right person at the right time with the right urgency. So what happens is immediately those things. Oh, sorry, I should point out that one of the other benefits of Opsgenie is that instead of just sending an email or a text message, we can utilize push notifications, voice call, as well as chat to make sure that the people who need to be notified are notified. We use multiple channels. The user can define what channel is most effective for them. They can even change the channel. So use all 5 for urgent, and maybe just use SMS and email for low priority issues. What happens, because we set this up, immediately those 2 tickets from Jira Service Desk are digested in Opsgenie, and you can see those routing rules kick in here. The need access to HubSpot, which was the CRM request, that's already been downgraded to a P3, and below on the alert you see a P1, which is web stores down. So that might warrant more investigation. In fact, that P3, the Jira Service Desk needs access, Opsgenie is rather creative and flexible in what it can do. It actually can delay that notification till the next business day at 9 a.m. So what's interesting is it knows for certain alerts, we don't need to wake up or interrupt the dinner of our on-call responder. We can wait to the next business day, and that's what it did for the request that needs access to HubSpot. But if you look at the next one, which is the P1 web store is down, that one it actually would use the notification rules to alert the right person. They come in and they look at this, they can click it, and they can decide for themselves if the web store is down. Since it is human reported, we may want a manual process for them to validate. But once they do validate it is an issue, they can actually click that alert and promote it to an incident. So this is where an emergency response is warranted, and we want to get the right teams involved. And that's what we do now. What's nice about Opsgenie is when you actually decide to promote something to an incident, it's a 3 mouse click process. In many cases, you can use templates. Here we have one for the web stores down. We actually know the team involved, and we know the stakeholders have already been defined, sales and accounting. So that's part of the template. You can use your peacetime to actually prepare for an incident. So a few mouse clicks, and again, we're like 30 seconds in, and we're able to create that incident. One of the other things we can do immediately is we can jump over to Statuspage. Here you can see Statuspage. Its user interface has just changed to be more Jira-like, but you can actually define an incident and communicate that to your customers. So here, in this case, we can have a website generated which says, hey, the web store is not responding, but we are aware of the issue and investigating. So this will head off and deflect further reporting of the same issue. I mentioned that you could just pop over to Statuspage and do that, but coming soon you'll be able to do that right from within Opsgenie. We can do this now with custom actions, but we're improving it quite a bit, and this is how it will look, where you can actually fill out a form. The end result is that not only will a website be posted that says, hey, the web store is not responding, but also on that JSD customer portal, you'll see that there's a banner which actually will actually say the web store is not responding. So again, you're heading off the redundant reporting of issues. And this allows your team to focus, but also let your customers know that you're aware and in control of the situation. Okay, back in Opsgenie, here's the incident. And what we can also do at this point is click that yellow button that you see, Incident Command Center, which is really nice. So now everybody's been notified who needs to know about this incident, and we're going to start collaborating on a solution. The Incident Command Center fires up right inside Opsgenie. It's a video conference bridge, and you can see what we have. We have at the bottom a timeline that's telling us everything about the event. We have a dynamic chat on the right. You can actually assign and update roles on the left. But most importantly, you're having everybody, they don't need to say, well, who needs to start the conference bridge? What link should we use? It's already defined in the alert that you get from Opsgenie, so people can start collaborating on an issue. For this issue, we may decide that maybe it's an Amazon Web Service and we want to restart that web service. Well, you can take definitive and decisive actions right from Opsgenie. So just by going to the menu, you can do things like restart EC2, which is very nice. You could actually do this right from your mobile device. And actually, you'll see that the timeline updates, and in this case, it did fix the issue. When we talk about custom actions like restarting EC2, what we built with Opsgenie is a strong interface with many of the configuration management systems out there. So for AWS, you can run anything within their playbooks. You could do EC2 diagnostics. You could restart an EC2 server, check different things. People use it to ping servers as well, and we also have integrations coming with Ansible as well as Salt. So you have a lot of power right within the Opsgenie to take decisive action. Okay, so at this point, it looks like the situation is resolved itself with the EC2 restart, so we can resolve the issue. And we can also do things like define any follow-up tasks or link any follow-up tasks that we have defined in Jira. So this stores our follow-up tasks right within the incident in Opsgenie. Finally, you can actually define a post-mortem report. So what's nice is because Opsgenie is tracking everything related to this incident, the time that it was created through JSD, as well as the post to Statuspage and the communication through our ICC, we actually have a record. So right within Opsgenie, we have a template which will help you define the post-mortem, where you could add root cause analysis, problems, lessons learned, the lead up. And we also, you see the attachment at the bottom, we give you a graphic representation called the post-mortem incident report, which will actually help you see visually when people joined the ICC session, when they ended, how many statuses you've communicated to your customers and stakeholders. coming soon, this will be you'll be able to export this to Confluence, and then anybody within your organization can read about the postmortems and can read about the incidents and improve your processes. Okay, finally, because of our ties to Statuspage, when you resolve the issue, there's no problem at all having that issue be resolved automatically on the Statuspage, and JSD as well. We can close those issues. And at this point, JSD may have triggers which will then email Mitch Davis and tell him, hey, thanks for reporting it. We think the problem's been resolved. So you can see very quickly that with a little preparation, and I'm walking you through everything, but in many cases, a lot of this can be done within the first minute of receiving the incident notification. You have the ability to utilize templates, communicate very effectively to your customers and stakeholders, swarm and get everybody working together and collaborating together, and then document everything once it's resolved. Here's the actual flow that we just went through. So again, for IT ops workflow, generally either a customer will report an issue or a monitoring tool will detect an issue. The issue can be captured in JSD. If it requires escalation, it can go to Opsgenie, where we can use our rules engine to split out the moderate priority alerts from the major incidents. The moderate priority could be delayed, or it could go to a different team with a different escalation schedule. Once a major incident is determined, again, that proactive communication is essential, and we can use the ICC and the collaboration tools to really take action in an effective manner. Finally, post-incident activities. You generate your post-incident report in Opsgenie, where you could export that to different tools, as well as do your follow-up tasks either in JSD or Jira software. Let's talk a little bit about a similar flow, but for DevOps. Now remember, for DevOps, we're constantly trying to deploy code, right? And update and deploy our code. There's a DevOps loop. Depending on how aggressive your company is with the agile philosophy, this could be several times a day, or this could be several times a week or month. But the idea behind it is, if you are a developer, you're also responsible for operating your code, and operating is where the monitoring and incident management sits. So again, we mentioned that for DevOps, waiting for a human to report a ticket may take too long. So you want to integrate and centralize all your alerts from your monitoring tools. And Opsgenie, we're in Opsgenie here, actually has over 200 out-of-box integrations with today's most popular application performance monitoring tools, network resource monitoring, CI/CD tools, like even Bitbucket, and we have tools that we integrate with the logging tools as well. So no matter what you have for your IT stack, you can integrate that into Opsgenie, your IT or development stack. The other thing is we have an email integration, webhook integration, and REST API integrations as well. So you can get almost anything to talk to Opsgenie when it detects a problem. Here you can see we've actually integrated with CloudWatch. This is the CloudWatch console, and it's showing all the different alarms. We have a number of different alarms. The one I'm highlighting here is an S3 Lambda execution failure. So that's something that we definitely connect Opsgenie to AWS and through CloudWatch, and that's one that we definitely be interested in seeing in Opsgenie. We can ingest all these alarms and use the rules engine to prioritize which ones are important. We do that by defining our AWS integration here, and what you're really looking at, anything in the right there in the blue, is fields that Opsgenie can actually ingest from CloudWatch, and we can write conditions. So if the alarm description or the state or the alarm name is important to us, we can write rules that change the priority or change how it's routed to different individuals and different schedules. We also have the ability to reformat the actual information, and you can see it there, where I can take something very maybe cryptic and turn it into something that everyone can understand. And I can normalize this language across different monitoring tools. So actually we took something that said, if I look at the description here, it said threshold cross one data point was greater than threshold, and I turned that to CloudWatch alarm, S3 backup Lambda function failed on US West 2 region. So I actually reformatted the alarm so I know the source, CloudWatch, I know the problem, the S3 Lambda function failed, and I know where that occurred, the US West region. This is instantaneous. As soon as the CloudWatch alarm is fired, Opsgenie knows about it. And we also can have rules which, instead of having a manual process to promote this to an alert, we can write a rule that will do it automatically. And then here you can see, again, instantaneously, that CloudWatch alarm not only becomes an alert, but an incident itself. And you can see that it's been defined here. Once this happens, same thing occurs that you saw in the IT ops. You have a timeline capturing everything, right? And you have the ability to take different actions. So here we have the ability to post a status page as well. And you can see now we're communicating to our external customers that there's a problem. We have the ability to check other services that we depend on. So right within Opsgenie, we're aggregating all of our different services. So very quickly we can determine, is this something that is widespread to other services? Here you can see things like New Relic, Dropbox. We can check the status of any service that we rely on. We can go to the Incident Command Center where we can collaborate on the actual issue. And this one's a little different in that I'm not using the native conference bridge, but I'm actually using Zoom because Opsgenie has a strong partnership with Zoom, and we can utilize them for our conference bridge right within our product as well. Again, you're saving time because people don't have to wonder who's going to set up the Zoom call, which link should we do. You set it up ahead of time in our templates, and when the alert comes, everybody knows to jump on this Zoom call. But the same information is captured. We have the timeline, we have a dynamic chat, as well as you can assign roles and update tasks right within the ICC. You can take those custom actions. Here we're going to configure S3 logging as sort of a stopgap of this problem, make sure that our backup's working through S3 logging, and that's recorded in the configuration. Then you can actually create additional tasks for the dev team to troubleshoot the Lambda function failure. Again, in this case, our duty is to get the service back online, not necessarily troubleshoot the root cause. So we're going to open up a ticket for that. We do that right from within Opsgenie so that that information is then stored in Jira software. When the issue is resolved, you can run that postmortem as well. And here we have a backup failure postmortem. We can go through all of those issues. This will help us not only document this exact outage, but actually help us learn from it and maybe avoid it in the future. Okay, and this is how the workflow works with the DevOps. Instead of the human-led or human-reported issue through JSD, we're connecting directly to the monitoring or CI/CD tools. Again, we can use that flexible rules engine in Opsgenie to determine what's moderate priority and which teams can address on their own time, or what's a major incident that requires swarming with our ICC, that Incident Command Center. We can, of course, communicate to the public very quickly with Statuspage, and then we go ahead and document those follow-up tasks in either Confluence for the postmortems or Jira Service Desk, or sorry, Jira software for the follow-up tasks, like you saw, where we actually need to troubleshoot or put in a hotfix or a code change. You know, one of the things that's important that everyone understand, though, is that as we talk to different people, due to their company structure, the environment, and the goals, it dictates what process you may want to use. The important thing is that our IAM solutions are very modular and they adapt to any workflow. You know, we mentioned we have over 200 integrations to your IT stack, but the other thing that I want to point out is there's no reason why, if you don't use Jira Service Desk and you use another Service Desk tool, you couldn't plug that into the exact workflows that I had Opsgenie report that and get the team together, and then use JSD, Statuspage, and Jira software for all follow-up tasks and communications. Likewise, if you had a different on-call and alert management software, there's no reason why you couldn't plug that in to a similar workflow. Having us all together with one solution, we're streamlined, we're connected in a much more efficient manner, but the tools are very modular. Now, not only are we making investments in the software and the tools, but we are documenting our best practices as well. And I want to encourage everyone who's attending this webinar to actually look at our incident management handbook. This is actually the process that we use internally. All these tools that I mentioned today, we do use internally, but it will show you how we do things, how we decide how to prioritize, what is our post-mortem process. So I encourage everybody to download a copy of our incident management handbook, and you can get the link right within this webinar interface. The other thing is we actually have an incident management microsite where we've started posting the best practices and some tutorials if you're just getting started in incident management. So I encourage you to visit our Atlassian.com/incident management with a hyphen in between incident and management. It's a destination. It's gaining popularity. Every week we're seeing more and more people come to this site to get those best practices. Okay, and then finally, if you're not aware of all these products, please note that we do offer free trials of all of them. You can get a 14-day trial of Opsgenie and see how it will help you with alerting and on-call. You can obviously get a trial of JSD and Jira software, but we also have a trial of Statuspage, so you can actually see and set up how you would communicate with your customers. You just have to visit Atlassian.com, or for Opsgenie, if you have Jira already, you can go to the site administration page within the Jira software cloud. All right, that concludes our webinar. What I want to do is say thank you. We've been answering questions all along through the question widget, but please feel free. We're going to leave some time where you can type in some questions now, and we'll do the best to answer those as well. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for attending, and please download those handbooks.